I'm not telling people who are like, okay, if you're a little stressed, don't work out. Don't do it. There's a healthy level of stress. Pushing yourself is not bad. It is not toxic. It is not going to harm your health. It's that chronic stress that you just know it's bad. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cody Podcast. So this week, we're going to continue on with our stress series. And this week specifically, we're going to be talking about how you can't escape stress, but to how to learn how to use it. I wouldn't say necessarily to your advantage, but just how to work with it, not against it, and make it another thing that you're adding to your plate, essentially. But before we dive into the topic, how's it going? What's new? How's life?
It's going fine. We've spent almost a week out of the hospital at this point, starting tomorrow, starting today. So, yeah.
Yay.
uh,
The little
this
things.
series is good for both of us. So it's like just as much for us as it is for everybody else because we're both still trying to learn how to manage our stress. So yeah, I'm doing all right. Just trying to get through the week. How about you?
I mean, same, I've just trying to, I think, I've caught myself trying to like push my foot on the gas a little or starting to stress about not being as on point with things or feeling like I need to like really get into uh, the grind and stuff like that. And it's a struggle because it's just, I feel like, okay, I'm allowing myself grace. It's like, how much grace can we really allow ourselves before it's just becoming a slacker, which is another thing we should probably address. But
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a loaded question, especially for you.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, how much is too much? What's not enough? And so, I guess that's something we can dive into and kind of investigate further on
Yep.
that. But yeah, so should we get started
Yeah.
on? So you want to talk about how about good stress versus bad stress? Because I think this is a common misconception, thinking that all stress is bad, and then
Right.
we get into the trying to remove all stressors. And one, you can't.
Nope.
It's impossible. But two, like you're going to stress yourself out more trying to remove stress. Yeah. So there is good stress and there is bad stress. Good stress. I'll go with the examples for good stress if you want to go over the examples of bad after this.
Sure.
So, good stress, like workouts, that's a form of stress. Exercise is a form of stress, but it is good. You can have too much of a good thing still, but yeah, it's not a bad one. So, starting something new, feeling challenged. We always want to feel challenged. Can't forget that's a good form of stress. It's the stress that makes you grow, challenges you, makes you stronger, like progressive overload in the gym. So, physical stress has always been something I've been like kind of good at. And now I'm challenging myself still in a good stress way, more mentally, but
Yeah.
you do still have to be careful. Like I said, you can still have too much of a good slash, like predictive thing. But do you want to go over the examples of bad stress?
Yeah, bad stress. So chronic stress, not giving yourself enough time to recover, taking on too many responsibilities, overthinking, financial pressure, content creation grind, trying to figure out the algorithm, poor sleep, undereating, drinking way too much caffeine, taking way too much Ritalin. I think definitely that's a big one. Like relying um, on stimulants to get you through the day. It's a huge one.
Yeah, most definitely. You definitely get into a bad cycle if you're relying on stimulants and then maybe you're not sleeping as well because of that. And
Yeah.
then because you're not sleeping well, then you're just like keep going with the
Hmm.
stimulants. And
Hmm.
it's just,
Or
it's a,
you're too stressed to sleep, so then you use the stimulants, and then you're still too stressed.
you're like, I need a stimulant to help me stay awake and use my brain. And then I need something to help me sleep at night. And then before you know it, you're just like
Oh
playing
my god,
around
that's
with
my life.
yeah, like things that uppers and downers constantly. All right, up, down, up, down. You got to think, wow, like I'm confusing my body. It's like taking Imodium when you're already constipated sometimes, and then like you get diarrhea because like you're so constipated, and then you just it's like taking the wrong thing at the wrong time, expecting your body to still work with it.
No wonder our nervous systems are like,
But exactly, if you want to talk about HPA axis dysfunction. There you go. That's how it starts. So, so zero stress isn't the goal. I already said that because yes, it's impossible. You'll stress yourself out more, so you just have to make sure you're going like taking small steps to allow for your body to adapt or your brain, whatever kind of stress you're adding. The goal or the big thing to keep in mind is that stress becomes too much when it is more than you can recover from. And that goes with life,
mm,
emotional, mental health situations, and also physically. So you kind of have to know yourself. And it takes a little time to kind of learn how your body works, how your body recovers, what affects your recovery. And those are ways that you kind of, learn to balance things out. But sometimes you get really good at ignoring that, like I have been
Guess I was going to
over
ask, like,
the
how do you feel
past.
like you, how do you feel like you started to recognize that you weren't
Yeah.
actually recovering?
I think more than ever now, as I've been paying a lot of attention to my body because I'm trying to like figure shit out. And I'm just like, damn, I've never paid this much attention to everything going on in my body as I am right
Never been
now.
so in tune.
No, and yet I still miss things. I'm like, after the fact, you're like, oh, oops.
Rail.
I think I've had so many like after the fact realizations now. And I go to those points in my brain and I think about times where I ignored shit. And then I'm like, is this a
Mhm,
time where I'm ignoring something? And so
mhm.
I just try to plug that in and then think, is this similar to the last time that I did this?
Yeah.
And kind of you learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But I think currently what I'm noticing is brain fog. And honestly, one of the biggest gauges is like how I feel when I wake up in the morning. If I'm extra achy and, extra groggy, I know that it's going to be a struggle. I probably did not recover as well. But at the same time, sometimes you're just going to have days like that. So you got to learn your body and kind of take note of things. If you have an app that helps you track these things, it's great. This is one thing that like HRV would be an example of tangible ways to know that you're not recovered,
Mhm.
even if your mind, whatever, is like, nah, I'm recovered. I'm good. You can't ignore something like HRV because it's this actual measurable thing.
Heart
But
rate
that being
variability,
said,
that's what you mean, right? Okay,
yeah,
to make sure.
like things with your Apple Watch tracks it or Whoop is like the main or Aura. They're all those recovery tracking devices. It's not as great a thing to use for strength training. It's a good thing to use more for cardio recovery, but it
Sure.
does still correlate to strength training to an extent. And, sometimes you might notice if you're tracking that enough when you're starting to get sick, your recovery goes down and you don't even realize you're just like, until you look back and you're like, "Oh, that's why my recovery was sucky because I was getting sick." So it kind of senses things sometimes before
Yeah.
you really do. But again, it has its pros and cons. And that was kind of a tangent I got on. I'm sorry.
No.
But
No,
I
I
was like,
that's
"Oh, this is a
exactly
measurable
no,
way to
that's
not make
exactly
mistakes."
that makes sense.
So yeah, I think those are the things that like always check my sleep tracker. HRV is part of that. So learning how to track your recovery points the same way you would track your nutrition and workouts is a good way to stay on top of it and keep yourself accountable if you're someone who tends to ignore things. But yeah.
Okay, and then on that note, say you wake up on a day and you look at your recovery and you're like, "Shit, I'm not actually very recovered from yesterday." How do you go about your day? Are you making any changes as far as how you proceed with your day, or are you still pushing through? What do you suggest there?
Yeah. I mean, it can kind of depend how the day goes on. It depends. Let's say you're trying to determine if you should work out or not because of your recovery or how you feel. Do you work out later in the day? Sometimes, you kind of start to wake up when you get more food in your system,
Mhm.
hydration, that sort of thing. That can affect how you feel. If you're
Absolutely.
still feeling like garbage and you're trying to work out in the afternoon or something, I might either cut my workout short or just give myself permission to go light. And I tell myself, just get some movement in. That's the goal. Just movement. Because even if you're not recovered, just some movement is not going to be a bad thing. So that's one way I'll, adjust things. Or if I'm feeling more stress or mental fatigue, that's usually due to work stuff. So I try to like give myself a priority task and be like, this is what absolutely needs to get done today. If nothing else gets done, we'll try again tomorrow and just
Mhm.
try not to like guilt myself or stress myself. Work in progress. I still do it, but this is what I'm trying. All right, I'm working on it.
Yeah, I get
So
it. I mean, it's hard, those days where you're not feeling your best, the stress is weighing on you. It's like we said last time, it's hard not to get stressed about your stress. And then you're super hard on yourself for like what you're not getting done or how slow your brain is functioning because you want so badly to be productive and efficient with your time. And you're like, I'm so foggy. What am I gonna do? So yeah, it's tough.
yeah, for sure. How about you? Like, what are some things that you notice you start feeling when you're getting run down, your stress is starting to overwhelm you and that sort of thing?
I laugh because I can't remember a time where I didn't feel like this.
So then, well, that explains like every day I just want to go to bed.
I just wanna go to bed. No, I mean, like, I definitely feel more irritable. I definitely feel like my brain did so I have ADHD and typically, like, when I'm doing okay, like, my brain functions normally and processes information really quickly and I can form thoughts rather well. And then, but when it's not going as well as I'd like it to, I definitely feel some slowdown there. It's harder for me to like figure out words, things to say, and yeah, I just feel very tired and very like I could spend 45 days in bed and probably not get enough rest. Definitely I do feel it at the gym when when I'm really struggling. I just can't go nearly as heavy as I would before. Yeah, just like not looking forward to stuff as much that I usually would because I'm just like just I'm just spent. So definitely trying to climb out of that currently.
Yeah. So what are some ways you're trying to climb out of that?
What- Uh, this week my coach had me start doing brain dumps every day.
How's that going?
Oh, that's going okay. As I said yesterday, I did a brain dump yesterday. It was very, very long. It was like 3 pages. And I was like, damn, I had a lot of shit in there. Like I did a lot of just shit floating around in my brain that was taking up a lot of space and energy. So trying to make that a priority to get the thoughts out on paper or screen or something and just kind of like not let them stick in my head and worry me because I have so much on my brain all the time that it's hard to be present. And it just uses up so much energy. And then you're like, I'm so tired. Like I can't even. And I didn't even do anything. All I did was worry. So that's a big one. And then like,
Yeah.
doing our walks. Yeah, I find those helpful. Drinking water. That's a big one. Yeah, and just trying to find ways to like relax and in bed like the last few hours before bedtime and play my game and just chill, that kind of thing. What about you?
Yeah. Well, again, trying to not pressure myself into being as productive as humanly possible at all times of the day, allowing myself to do things that I want to do and enjoy, basically prioritizing that because so many other
Yeah,
times I will just be like, there's other things I need to do. I'm not going to do something that's optional if I have other things that
yeah,
are important and really need to get done.
yeah.
But most of the times I can do those at another time. And for some reason, I think that I can't do anything else until those are done. I can't have fun if I haven't completed my homework. It's something along
Parenting.
those lines. Yeah. So I'm parenting myself. No, I just trying to really continue to prioritize doing things that's not something I feel obligated or pressured into doing, or something that's not a task. So
That feels good when you're
yeah.
able
And
to do that.
journaling, and yeah. And journaling has always been a part of ways to organize my thoughts and be less anxious. So that's something
Mhm.
that I continue to do. Brain dumps are also something that I do. Basically, I feel like my journals are brain dumps. I just let it all out, and no one's going to read it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to make sense. It could sometimes it's lists when there's a lot, or if like
Mhm.
I accidentally took a break from journaling and there's just so much. I don't know if you've ever done that where like you avoid journaling because you haven't done it in so long and you're just like, I don't even know where to start. I don't like I could write a book.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then lists come in handy because you're just getting it out there. And then from there, after you kind of get the list out, you kind of pick what's important or what's really on your
Yeah.
mind in the moment. But it is the greatest way to clear your head, whether it's emotional constipation or just that you have so much overwhelming anxiety. It's just cycling in your head and it's loud and you
Mhm.
can't hear anything else and you can't focus. It helps to organize that. And it's something that I can't recommend enough. If you're like a pen and paper journaler, awesome. Or there's apps now. There's like a ton of different apps. I personally like Day One Journal because it is, helps you organize things and stuff, but it's simple. But there's also AI apps out there now, so you can journal and get like responses other than, ChatGPT. There's one called like Honestly, I think. So you get feedback if you really,
That's
want.
interesting. Haven't heard of
Yeah.
that one.
And it can spot trends in your thinking and, kind of point that out to you. And it's a good way to track your mood and stuff because it kind of like asks you those things as you journal in it. But yeah, I
That's cool.
I will always recommend journaling in some way, shape, or form. And
There's
even
something so
if
cathartic
yeah,
about it.
it
It
doesn't
really
have to
is.
make sense. Yeah. I think people tend to avoid it because they think that it needs to be like this work of art or it needs to make sense. And it literally doesn't.
Right.
If no one else is gonna read it unless you, like, wanna show a therapist because it's easier for you, but other than that,
Mhm.
like, you don't have an audience, so just go for it. Do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, another tangent there for journaling. I just wanna like, journaling is so important.
It
I feel like
is.
I will die on that hill. I know people are just like, "Yeah, start my morning routine with journaling," like all the, successful, like people. And it's just like, no, it's a real thing. It helps.
It is, absolutely.
But yeah, so I guess for some examples to give people like an example of good stress versus bad stress, like next to each other. So bodybuilding prep, it can be bad in the sense that it is hard on your body and shit like that. But it is like a good stress. It's a challenge. You chose it, and it's something for me. Like physically, I found how to push myself physically and know my
Yeah.
limits for the most part. But prep or there's me just every day during like high stress and burnout, right? That one definitely gets me more, obviously. That's kind
Mm.
of, where I've gotten.
Yeah.
Because after prep, you're kind of like on top of the world because it's a good stressor. You accomplished something, it had a purpose, it had an end goal. So it wasn't chronic, it was a short term amount
It's
of
controlled
stress.
versus chronic, right?
Exactly. So then you have the other out of control work life stress. That is the bad part. So, yeah, just wanted to give an example just in case there was any confusion. But can you think of any good versus bad stressors in your life for an example?
Yeah, I think like in my professional life for sure, like as I'm trying something new or taking on a new role with, more responsibility, more, things I have to learn, it gets a little stressful, but it has an end goal, right? And it's like you always have to put pressure on something for it to grow or expand or change. That's physics, right? And so if you don't do that, sorry, I'm such a nerd. But if you don't, right, nothing ever changes. And so, with work, it's I try to remember, that I'm doing these things that I'm doing so that I can grow and so that I can move on and in my career and stuff like that. But then I also have times where I've realized that I was putting myself under way too much stress at work because I wasn't asking for help and I was very uncontrolled and very like not worth it. It was just like trying to be the hero and trying to do everything on my own and trying not to look stupid. And so I've learned a lot in those situations. Like there's a huge difference. Um, so trying new things is hard, but it's also really good for you. It's a good way for your brain to keep growing and learning. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, cool. All right. So next, I was thinking we go over, the basic, lifestyle factors that can help you manage your stress. They're
Very
very
important.
simple.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, it's not one of those things where it's like you need to buy this
Oh my
supplement, you need
God.
to do X, Y. Like it's
Buy
so
my book.
simple. Yeah. It's very simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy, right?
Mhm.
Because life, it gets hard, it gets
Absolutely.
stressful, it gets so number one, sleep. This is something like I would prioritize sleep over exercise just because if you're not sleeping, you're not gonna have energy to exercise, or your health's
Yeah.
gonna go down the toilet a lot
Yeah.
faster if you're not sleeping.
So true.
It's the number one stress regulator. It's the foundation. So if you don't have your sleep down, work on that before absolutely anything else. Because, yeah, you're not going to be able to keep things going. You're not going to be able to sustain things if your sleep is not in check. So,
So true. When my
yeah.
sleep is fucked, I am fucked. It's not good.
Yeah. No, it's like instant brain fog the next day. You're more irritable. I'm not talking about you, but it's just like you feel more irritable and,
No, totally.
you know, so
It's
for
terrible.
everyone around your sake as well, sleep, sleep. So next one is food. So undereating and overeating are both stressful on your body. Is so again, balance, right? But when you're not eating properly, or maybe you're not eating balanced meals, you're getting blood sugar spikes. Maybe you just have cereal for breakfast because you're running out the door. It's a pretty big blood sugar spike you're going to get. And then you're going to crash and feel ravenously hungry for lunch,
Yeah,
then maybe
that's
overeat
true.
for the rest of the day. It happens. Or if you just have coffee running out the door, like way to just put yourself on, the top of the stress roller coaster without a seatbelt. You're just going to fly
Your
down there at that point.
nervous system does not appreciate that.
Not at all. So don't just grab coffee for your breakfast and head
No.
out the door. And of course, so your nervous system, if you're someone who's got a lot of stress with work, kids, a lot of responsibilities, or maybe you work online, you have constant notifications going on your phone, or maybe you're doom scrolling. This is something for me. I feel like I've been stuck in this chronic urgency situation. God, since I can't fucking remember. I know that like a sense of urgency in the kitchen has always been something that I have prided myself on, and is something that literally is required to work in a kitchen. But I feel like I just was never able to turn it off. Um, and when I started working for myself with training, even if I wasn't working in a kitchen, it was like I was applying that to every other aspect of my life. Just like sense of urgency, like everything was an emergency. And I've been doing that like ever since I started my business, and it takes a toll. And there's a time and a place for it, but you can't live in that state forever because it will
Eventually,
destroy
you'd burn
you.
out.
Yeah. So that nervous system, it's affected by all the other things that the sleep and the food, and obviously like movement is another way to regulate your nervous system and to help with stress levels. Um, Without it, I don't know if I know we talked about it when there's days where you feel anxious, but we do work at our desk. I know I'm a personal trainer, but online, so there's a lot of sitting. You get antsy and anxious if you don't
Oh,
move.
yeah.
Like you
Oh,
just
yeah.
sometimes you forget because like time slips away and you're just like, gosh, I feel so anxious. And then it's like, oh, I haven't moved my body. Like I need to move my body or I'm gonna go
How have I been
crazy.
sitting here for 4.5 hours?
Yeah, like, no wonder I'm antsy and anxious. Like,
Right?
of course, I have not moved. So, yeah, those are the main things to help, manage stress. There's other things as well we'll go over, but so, Des, how do you like, what are some things you've noticed helps, like, regulate your nervous system?
Definitely the walks. It's funny because, like, on my worst days when I'm like the most stressed, I actually don't want to walk because I'm so tired. I just want to hide in bed. But then, like, we'll go on a walk, and afterwards, I'm like, oh, that is actually what I needed. Moving my
Yeah.
body is very helpful. Having like intentional downtime, very, very important for me, where I literally force myself to sit on my bed and read or play a game or watch my favorite British TV, something like that, that just helps me to just chill and just be because I'm so used to just kind of being on all the time and being moving all the time. And like, even if I'm not moving, my brain is usually just like going a million miles an hour. So when I'm able to sit down and just focus on like one thing that's not, like you said before, that's not like an obligation, it makes a huge difference for me. And then, like, just hanging out with my kids and, like, playing games with them is really, really fun. It's a nice way for me to chill and spend time with them, and, yeah, I actually really enjoyed that.
Very cool. Yeah. Those are all good things. And everyone's different. I think we tend to try to fall like we try to fit ourselves in this box of here's some things to do to lower your stress levels, but it's
Right?
not black and white like that. Everyone's
No.
different. Maybe someone likes to read to reduce stress levels. Maybe someone's
Yeah.
like, reading stresses me the fuck out.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you don't like something, doesn't mean you have to do it and you're not going to feel less stress unless you do it. You got to
Mhm.
find your own thing.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think what helps me the most usually playing the blocks game, working out, but can't do that as much right now. Definitely walking is always something for sure. And sleep. Sleep is massive.
Sleep.
So
Oh, sleep.
yeah. Yeah.
Watching your favorite show, watching Top Chef.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's
We like
always
that.
fun. Yeah. I feel like some shows are turn into good stressors because there can be anxiety provoking and you're like, "Oh my god, like what is happening?"
That's true.
But, you know, in a good way.
Right?
Yeah. So, for anyone who is feeling stressed or maybe you're like feeling like you're wondering if you're overloading the stress in your life and you're wondering, how do I know if it's too much? How do I know if I'm just at the point where I'm challenging myself? So, check the foundational aspects that help you regulate your stress. So, how's your sleep, energy, digestion? Are you feeling more irritable? How are you recovering from workouts? Are you having more cravings than usually? Are you
Yeah.
hungrier than usual? Are you
Mhm.
using more caffeine? Those are a really good checklist to go through to kind of audit yourself to see, am I kind of pushing myself into the red zone? Or am I
Mhm.
still okay? Is this a healthy challenge, a healthy stress level? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think it's so easy to get like to get in that where you're pushing yourself into that red zone without even realizing it, and then after the fact, you're like, "Boy,
Yeah,
boy, what have I
exactly.
done?"
Yeah, it's like the stuff I was kinda going through, I feel like when I was in the hospital just thinking, like, going through my brain of all the things, being like, "What have I been doing? Why?" Like, I'm dumb, like, like, it took me this long to figure out that I just cannot keep doing this and I need to, like, change, but we all have our moments,
And
but,
sometimes it takes
um
everybody that, right? Like, it just about takes most people a crazy situation if we're not present, right? And especially in this day and age, being present is one of the hardest things, totally.
yeah,
Like, we're on our phones, we're on our screens of some kind. We have so much stress and worry that we just don't realize what we're doing to ourselves until it hits us. So, it's
Yeah.
like you said, just taking the time to like you're having to make quite an effort to notice your body more, than you were before. It's like a practice, right? We have to practice these things in order to notice them at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep tabs with a notebook, journal if you have to. Again, it does not hurt to collect data. You're basically creating a user's manual for yourself, So refer to it when necessary. Make sure to read it,
Yes.
put it in language you can understand, don't it doesn't have to be in 20 different languages, just your own. Um so again, so some tools to manage stress. We kind of went over this already. But you want to pick something that's doable and sustainable. It doesn't you don't have to go balls to the wall when you're changing habits and creating new better habits or improving habits. Don't go too fast too quickly or else you're just gonna end up overwhelmed. So you can pick like one daily bedtime, work on setting a bedtime and sticking to it, being consistent with that. Or another one is plan the time to go for a walk. The walks are always good for your health and your mind. Eat balanced meals. Make sure you're not giving yourself like a roller coaster of blood sugar spikes and dips.
I'm so bad at that.
You know, try to, it's definitely a hard one.
It's so
And then the
hard.
caffeine, try not to have it too late in the day. Everyone is different in how they metabolize caffeine, and maybe it doesn't affect you, but sometimes it does without you even realizing it. So even just experimenting with a cutoff caffeine time could be worth it. Might notice that you do sleep better. But yeah, there's also some, like emergency tools if you're someone who tends to have anxiety attacks or panic attacks. You could do the the grounding exercises, the breathing. I know there's different numbers. There's like 333, and then there's 374 or something along those lines. I don't know. Where you breathe in for 3 seconds and you hold it for three
Oh,
seconds
yeah,
and
yeah,
breathe
yeah.
out or something like yeah. You know, get off your phone.
Yeah,
Phones alone
put it down.
sometimes are something that's just overstimulating you. Text or phone a friend. To step outside for some fresh air, outdoors, sunshine, if you can
Mhm.
find it in the season that it is.
Right.
But yeah, can you think of any other things?
There's a few things that, like, my therapist taught me this year that I use sometimes. One is, like, getting, like, an ice pack from the freezer, even if you don't have an ice pack, like, literally ice cubes, like, in a baggie or a pack of frozen peas. And you'd stick them on the back of your neck, or it sounds really weird, but, like, under your armpit because the cold, like, kinda, like, shocks your nervous system and kinda, like, calms it down and resets it, and it actually does help. And then another thing that I've found recently was Spotify no, the Calm app does they have tons of amazing, like, meditations and, like, calming, exercises you can do and stuff, but now they actually have EMDR ones where you can put your headphones on and they have, like, I guess, the sound waves that go, like, through the different sides of your, headphones and stuff, and it's very, very calming and very helpful, especially when you're, like, in a super crazy anxiety spiral. Definitely recommend checking that out. Totally worth the the money on that one, and it's not even very expensive. It's like one of those, monthly
Yeah.
subscription things.
Yeah. I always recommend that app as well. I have been checking out those EMDR ones that they have because I got a little notification about it. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try
It's
this
pretty
out. It
cool.
is rather nice.
It's really cool. It's
It's really
really, really
soothing.
cool. It is. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you don't have
I
to
feel like I
do,
need
like, a
to make
30-minute
a,
one. You could do, like, 5 minutes, like, it doesn't have to be a long, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. So you don't have to commit to too long. 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's enough. I feel like I need to make a list of all the apps that can help with stress
Mhm.
reduction. It's like, but it's funny. I'm like, get off your phone, but here's some apps that can
Here's
help
some
reduce stress.
apps. It's more like
It's
get off
so
social
like,
media, get off the news.
yeah, specifically get off social media because that's a way to phrase it versus just get off your phone.
And with that being said, putting screen time limits on your phone is really helpful. I had to do that this year because I was obsessively checking the news and Twitter or X and threads and all those things. So I actually had to put screen time limits on my phone to remind me, hey, like you've already been on this enough. Just go do something else. So it's a helpful tool.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. There's all these tools actually that are at our fingertips that we tend to forget about or
Oh, yeah,
ignore. Maybe it's like a tiny bit of self-sabotage where you know something exists that can help you, but you're not quite ready
sure.
to change or help yourself yet. But then
Right.
when you're at that stage, you start finding all these things that already existed, and you're like, "Okay, I can help
Well,
myself here."
that's a good point.
Uh,
That's a good point because it's like, this is something you've mentioned to me before, like basically along the line, something along the lines of like, I don't know if you know how to operate when you're not stressed, like outside of chaos mode. And a lot of people don't,
yeah.
right? And so that the thought of like giving that up and operating outside of that is like, how? I don't know. I don't know what that's like. So you just kind of keep going with your norm and burn yourself out even more.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing because stress and chaos can actually become your comfort zone. And so that's not where you're challenging yourself. The challenge is actually being okay with something that's not as familiar, which is not being in chaos and stress and having moments where there's calm and peace
Hmm.
and stuff like that. It's just that it's almost like, I mean, myself included, but your body sets off an alarm when there's no alarm. Like it's more alarming if you're not stressed than if you
Yeah,
are. You are stressed, you're kind of like, I know how to function. I know what to do. I
exactly.
will just get at it and figure it out. Whereas when there's nothing, you're kind of just like something is wrong. There's no chaos, nothing bad is
Just like
occurring.
sense of doom.
Yes, they're like, nothing's bad happening, so I'm gonna anticipate when something bad does happen.
Hmm.
So, it's about recognizing the difference between, like, what is uncomfortable, but
Hmm.
familiar to the point where you still gravitate towards it versus, like, what is not familiar and kind of uncomfortable because it's not familiar. So, it's like the less stressful times. I don't know if that made sense. That was a lot of
Totally.
weird flip-floppy
No,
things,
no,
but
I think that makes sense.
so another question and thing to like look in within yourself of, do you know how to operate outside of stress? Do you kind of search for chaos because it's familiar? Food for thought.
How many times have you told me, like, don't go find something else to stress about right now? Like, because I'm really good at that. Like, oh, you have some time to rest? Don't do it. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Don't go sign up for something.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, uh, basically, if you have a moment of, oh, work's kind of slow right now, things are going well, and all of a sudden you're like, so I signed up to coach soccer. It was like, what? What did you do?
What
You're
what are you
supposed to
doing?
rest. Okay. So yeah. Be aware of what you tend to do, where you gravitate. It can make a lot of difference. It really just try to learn about yourself. And that's where that user's manual for yourself comes in handy because you'll learn a lot. And that's also where therapy comes in handy because self awareness, there's nothing like someone else
Absolutely.
bringing to attention shit you do, like a therapist.
Or a partner, like date somebody who like will be honest with you about how you are as a person. Cause it's huge.
You make me sound like an asshole.
No, like no, that's not what it is. I mean, like,
Let me tell you how you are as a person.
no, I just mean like somebody who really pays attention to you and notices the things that you do to yourself that could be detrimental to you and calls them out because you want them to like maybe not kill themselves with stress, like, that's an important thing because when you have somebody that will bring that up to your attention, it means they truly care. And it is
Yeah.
often, especially when we're stuck in that cycle of the stress and chaos, it's hard to see what we're doing. And so if you have somebody like really paying attention, and noticing, oh, you're starting to trend towards that again. It's nice to have somebody to remind you and kind of bring you back down and be like, hey, hello, you don't want to do that. Remember what that leads
Yeah.
to? That's what I'm going with here.
And it's funny though, because there's also this risk of becoming more aware of what you're doing and then beating yourself up for it. So there's this shit,
Yeah.
I'm stressing out and doing this to myself again. I'm such a fucking idiot, and it's just like, no, no, no.
No,
How would your
nope.
therapist talk to you if she was talking to you in this moment?
Hmm.
Or how would your partner talk to you in this moment?
Hmm.
Don't talk to yourself like an asshole when you're, stressing out already. So, yeah,
Exactly.
be careful what you do when you do become aware of the things.
So that's the thing
But
is
it
like your
is,
partner it can bring things up in a more loving way and be like, "You're
yeah,
doing that
true.
again, babe," rather than like, "You fucking dumbass." 'Cause
It,
that's what my brain does to myself.
no, I mean, same. But that's the beauty, like having a partner or a coach. It's always like, honesty is always the best policy, but of course, the approach matters. Like, try to approach yourself, or I guess if you're approaching a significant other with honesty because you care, don't just be like, hey, you're fucking things up, you asshole. So,
No, because we do
yeah,
that to ourselves enough.
yeah, definitely do. This other thing is being aware of how you talk to yourself. That's a stressor,
It's
you know?
huge. Huge.
So, yeah. Uh, how do we even get on that subject?
I don't know. So, going back to the goal is not zero stress. The goal is stress we can recover from.
Yes, exactly. And I do want to again emphasize, I mean, there's definitely a few categories of personalities depending. Yeah, that's also something you have to be aware of. Your personality. Are you someone who actually tends to ignore stress, who tends to like put yourself in a place where you're grinding yourself into the ground uh, and you don't realize it? Or are you someone who, you know, isn't so comfortable with discomfort and looks for reasons to not do something? Because it's like, I like to give this advice, but you do have to remember, you have to know yourself. This is general advice. I'm not telling people who are like, okay, if you're a little stressed, don't work out. Just don't do it. I don't want that to be
No,
misinterpreted
no,
because, like I mentioned, there's a healthy level of stress. Pushing yourself is not bad. It is not toxic. It is not going to harm your health. It's that chronic stress that you just know it's bad because it makes you feel like shit. Like, that's where
exactly.
I really want people to pay attention. And again, in order to really know, what is pushing yourself too much, what is not enough, you do have to collect that data, experiment, create that user's manual on yourself so that you know for the future what might be too much, might not, maybe not be enough, and move forward like that. But
Yeah.
any other advice in those categories?
No, I mean, like, yeah, like you said before, it's like don't go to the gym with a fever, but like if you're not feeling like working out and you're like, ah, man, I'm just not feeling it today. Something you've said for years is like go and try. Set a time limit, 10 minutes. See how you feel in that first 10 minutes. If you're still just really fucking dreading every second of it, okay, maybe call it a day.
Yeah.
But chances are you're gonna be like, okay, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm glad I'm here. And yeah, just I lost my train of thought. But yeah, essentially just like be aware of how you're feeling, but don't just never push yourself just because you're afraid of being stressed.
Yeah.
Because then well, that'll be a boring life.
Yeah. I think a lot of times too, depending on where you fall on the spectrum of, pushing yourself too far and not enough, we tend to like exercise and nutrition and stuff tends to be the first thing we pull out when there's outside life stressors. We're like,
Oh,
oh, I'm
yeah.
stressed. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going to eat
Uh-huh.
healthy, whatever. I
Uh-huh.
mean, no one ever says, I'm not eating healthy. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. I'm eating this because it tastes good. But just thinking like, but are there other things that you can take out of your life that's causing stress before you go
Yeah.
dropping the workouts and eating properly? It's just, I know that that tends to get dropped first because like we can keep surviving without
Mhm.
movement and proper nutrition for a while, but it will catch up to you. And it is like the foundation. You're not going to be able to go to work if you're sick. You're not going to be able to take care of your family if you're sick. All of those are like some of the biggest overwhelming responsibilities that people have. You know, it's like jobs, family, right? But those things are going to suffer regardless if you can't work and take care of who you love. So you
Yeah.
have to
100%.
try to find a way to remind yourself that just because something is not impacting you negatively in the moment doesn't mean it's not ever going to negatively impact you, and trying to find ways to prioritize your exercise and your nutrition as a way to also not let stress, impact you and be worse for your immune system and your sleep and all that. For example, what are some things that you feel like when you're stressed, you could pull out of your life before you go pull in workouts and, you know, nutrition stuff out of your everyday routine?
I think probably volunteering to do something less, like taking on less, like less asks from
Yeah.
outside sources is a huge one for me. Like learning, I've had to get comfortable with saying no and like to let go of my people pleasing thing. Putting everybody first is a really big thing I struggle with because then I end up last and then I don't get what I need and my stress levels are through the roof. So
Yeah. Definitely. Uh, I think your go to is like overextending yourself.
literally, that's all I know.
And then, but like I said earlier, everyone is different. And sometimes, like, doing things can be a stress reliever. Doing less isn't always the thing to do when you're feeling stressed. Like, because maybe, uh, for example, like, if I'm tired and stressed, maybe I won't want to cook or something, but also like cooking for someone makes me feel good. So it's
Yeah.
almost like a stress reliever or something that I can add in to help. So it's not always about subtracting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about adding things in. It just depends who you are. And it's all about, getting to know yourself and what you need. So I guess just to kind of wrap it up, things to remember that, stress isn't the enemy. There's always going to be some stress in your life. It's just about balancing out the good versus bad. You don't need to fix everything overnight. Don't stress yourself out more trying to, work on your stress. Small tweaks can make a big difference. So just take it all one step at a time, progressive overload, apply it to your life in this way, just like you do in the gym. And yeah, so next week, we will be talking about, basically, we're going to go a little bit deeper into burnout versus bullshit. Specifically also with training, like, are you overtrained or are you just experiencing low motivation, that sort of thing. So I know we kind of covered it a little bit this episode of how to tell whether it's, you're actually doing too much or if you're being a little soft on yourself. And so,
It's gonna be a
we'll
good one.
see if burnout versus bullshit. Which one is it really? Which one are you burned out or are you bullshitting yourself? So stay tuned for that next week. But any last words? Does anything you'd like to tell people? Any reminders?
Just be kind to yourselves. Don't let the asshole in your brain like make you think that it's right. Be nice when you're talking to yourself because that makes a huge difference. And nobody has to be Superwoman or Superman. Do what you can. Take care of yourself and sleep.
Yes, very good advice there. If you do those things, it's amazing how much it can actually help. So yeah. All right. We'll wrap this up this week. Stay tuned for next week's episode. We will see you then. But until don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend. You find you have some people that are also stressed out that could benefit from this. And yeah, peace out, guys. We will talk to you next time.
Bye.